Hello, 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 everybody. They say that we are live, but as usual, I always have to check to see what's going on because my phone lies to me a lot. But if we are live, thank you guys for joining another episode of Philly Unfiltered. We back, we black, and we have a special guest. So tune in. We'll be back in like 3 minutes, guys. Hey, hey, hey. We are back and we are black. I don't know if y'all heard me the first time because as you muted. It ain't
Absolutely.
if I don't come through muted. Whatever
Mm-mm.
I got to say. So again, thank y'all for joining us again. We are back and we are definitely black guys. Welcome again. Thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of Philly Unfiltered. I am your host with the most, the Philly Zone, Petit Picasso, better known as Mommy, is in this house. As you know, we're gonna talk about this bright shirt I got on, all these words. As always, I got my co-host, the man, full of wisdom and bar. Up, Doc.
Oh, it's up. It's that time again. Here we go. Here we go.
Yeah.
We got a whole action-packed show today.
We do. We got a lot. We got a lot happening today. Excuse me. I'm trying to fix this bun. It's looking like I got something happening up here. But as always, guys, what I'm excited to be here. And before we get into anything else, like I said, I got on this really bright shirt. I hope y'all can see it. I'm gonna put my mask on in a second after we do our segment. So we're gonna start with, and I'm gonna get me some music soon. Spirit check with your girl, with
All right.
which is me. My spirit
Mm-hmm.
is up, as y'all can see. I'm hype. I be so hype. And the bro is always in the building. Akimbo, what's up?
All right. All right. Hoodoo.
Yes. What's up, bro? Thank you for joining us. How's your spirit? Please put your spirit check in the comments. Doc, how's your spirit tonight? What you up to?
I'm doing good. I'm doing, everything's well. I'm doing good. It's been a busy day, productive day. And, just ready to kind of, go forward with another show because we get stronger and better with every show. We got a lot of support. We're always thanking, our fans for our support. Our numbers are growing. And just let our fans know we love and appreciate
Absolutely. We thank y'all so much. If y'all missed the show last week, we were celebrating that 2.5K viewers we got in the past 28 days. Like, and we I think we should have like a February closeout and just invite all the guests that was on February and just have them come at the end of the month and make it almost like a party type thing, you
you.
know,
Right, right.
and whatever we doing. So yeah, guys, if you coming in, please let us know how your spirits are. We definitely gonna post those comments up on the screen. As y'all can see, we so fancy right now with Philly Unfiltered. The way we got this whole thing made. Um, so as I did my fancy, as we got up next, and we always got best information. I promise you, Doc, I'm gonna get you some music, some intro music. But up next, as always, we got the news that we definitely can use with your guy, Doc E. In the
All
building,
right, all right.
it's your guy, Doc. What's this news they can use, Doc?
Whew, good gosh, I got a lot. I got a lot to unpack right now, but I'm gonna try to, get through it and give each segment kind of its own um, rightfully due. First up is political updates. Um, Republicans, they kind of do what they're going to do. My question is, where you at, Democrats? I mean, there was a big hoopla about, the election and getting Biden Harris in, but I haven't heard very much. And right now, the Democrats have a four-seat majority in the House, 50-50 split in the Senate. But Aunt Kamala, she breaks the tie if there is one. Um, they don't seem to be very available to Black media. And they have about 2 years to push forth their agenda or whatever they want to try to get done.
Mm,
Because 2022 will be midterm elections. In the past, Democrats usually don't come out for midterm elections like we did for the president.
mm,
If Democrats don't come out in 2022, you know who is going to slip back in Congress. And at that point, they will shut everything that Biden and Harris is trying to do down. That's exactly what happened during the Obama administration. So once the midterm election came, Republicans got control of the House and the Senate. And from that day on, it was no Obama.
Mhm.
Everything he tried to do, they blocked.
Absolutely.
Keep in mind that these are things that affect us each and every day. If you have not heard, New Jersey has legalized marijuana.
What?
They have legalized marijuana. So I don't know all the gory details, but we will try to get them to you. So that's something that's coming down. The Virginia legislature sent to the governor a bill that would abolish the death penalty in the state of Virginia. So we'll keep an eye on that, see how far that is coming along at that point.
Hmm.
I listened to a very important podcast called Aftermath Philadelphia. This is started by police officers attempting to address the gun violence in the city of Philadelphia. Now, given everything that has happened with police and people of color, I found it very enlightening as to what they were doing. One of the men on the show mentioned that he's from the 12th district, and over 200 people have been killed in his district alone.
Mm.
Mentioned the Boston program that one of the police officers started for his community, and that expanded to the 22nd district. They mentioned that they're seeing more and more kids on the corner because they're not in school. They're also noticing that those committing crimes are a lot younger. There was a gang of robberies, a gang committing robberies in University City, ranging anywhere from 13 to 19. The police thought the 17 or the 19-year-old was the ringleader. No, the 13-year-old was the ringleader
Mm.
of that particular gang. There's a 16-year-old that has $1 million bail for a carjacking spree. So it's a lot of things that are kind of going on, and they also talked about the kids that are seeing these shootings and these killings,
Hmm.
and we can't expect them to just kind of go on. And how are the kids receiving all of this? And we as adults, we kind of take it, and it's kind of hard for us as well. But how's all of this affecting the children that are seeing these shootings, that are losing loved ones,
Right.
that are losing their friends left and right?
Absolutely. And that's something like these, like, I think I forgot who I was having this conversation with, but even being born in the 80s, I have not witnessed this much crime and
Yeah.
murder. And that was in the crack era. You know,
Hmm.
and I still didn't have to bear witness to these things. And also, too, I wanted to bring something um to the news you can use. I came across the story of the 18-year-old that got like 43 years in jail for self-defense.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw
Like,
that.
are you kidding? Because he was at a white people's frat party,
Yeah.
and the however it went. Like, listen, y'all, listen, listen, and to piggyback off of that, in case you guys didn't know, it didn't come up. I wanted to put the banner across, but go ahead, Doc. Because I want to set this up. I want to show like
Mm.
much respect to this particular person. So I'm gonna let you finish with your news you can use.
And one of the things they also mentioned is that a lot of the businesses that were boarded up, I'm not sure what particular part of it. I think they were primarily talking about this 12th district, this 22nd district, and I'm not sure which district is what, but it kind of brought my attention to 52nd and Market
Hmm.
and all those businesses that we lost when they were redoing the L, when they were putting the new tracks and the new beams for them. A lot of those businesses definitely did not come back. So we lost a lot there as well. They did mention that the police will have to get in touch with community leaders. These are people, boots on the ground. People we're highlighting our community superheroes, George Wallace Cephas, Jan McKay, and Anthony Baker. The people that are doing basically the work needs to be done. At some point, there has to be some kind of, you know, um, coming together with that.
Also,
Nothing.
oh, go ahead, Doc.
Go ahead.
Just
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, just to piggyback off of what you were saying, Princes of Power Inc., Millennium Candy and Gifts, and Philly Unfiltered, we have also joined, together. And Ashley Thompson, I hope I'm saying your last name right. I spoke to her today, and we are doing a collaboration to send some things over to Texas. So if anybody, if you know any organizations, even if you're not a part of an organization, if you have anything to donate to anything, like for what I'm hearing, the people that we spoke to, um, said that they need house things, like home things, more than anything else. So if that's something that anybody could send, so when he sends me a list, I might even do an impromptu live to put that out there again of the things that they need over there. So just wanted to piggyback off of what Doc was saying with the as far as our community superheroes, and yes, always shout out to y'all. So go ahead, Doc.
All right. The next podcast is one of our star supporters. Had a chance to listen to the Uhuru Mindset podcast on Sunday.
Yeah,
They had a screening and discussion about Judas and the Black Messiah movie. If you
great.
have not seen it, I encourage you to check it out. Discuss it with your kids, and it prompted a lot of discussion, basically addressing the issue that government constantly refused to address a lot of our issues. It gives us a lot of opportunities to organize. The movement is similar to those in the '60s, and they showed a video of this brother, the young rapper Biggs Dre. I hope I have his name right. He has a video, I think, dealing with human trafficking,
Yeah.
which is a big thing.
Oh, Doc, I'm so glad you said Doc. Oh, I said Doc like a psychic this joint, and it's crazy. And Akimba, he's in the comments right now. Like, shout out to you, bro. He inboxed me about that brother, and he told me he made mention of us to him.
Right.
He asked
Okay.
to be on our show.
All right. Bring it. Bring
So,
it. Bring it.
yeah, it was like, or it was something like that. Oh, he said he want to come on. I said that
All
right.
right. Right.
He
Right.
said, but listen, I ain't want to, too much. I was hoping I got that info right, but I was right. He wants to come on, and we will gladly have him on here because that's what we do. Doc, I said
Mhm.
psychic, but go ahead. I'm gonna put it back on the full screen as soon as you
But
do.
but but see that's what it's all about. It's the power of networking. As I get information, that's why I created the news you can use. So as I get information, I pass it on to you. So just like Akimba is checking out our website, we check out his website. He has information, and we all benefited from it, and we kind of all rise. And
Yes,
then I think Kemba, correct me if I'm wrong. This Sunday, his podcast is going to focus on discussing the missing women and girls in around, I guess, the city and the world as well. Because we've been hearing more and more about young kids missing, or being snatched, or people trying to pick them up in the cars, and that's something else with COVID and pandemic and the shootings and the killings. We had to pay close attention to. Always keep an eye on the children.
absolutely, absolutely, and that's something that we wanted to. Um, we've made mention of time and time again here when we talked about the riots and the marching and things like that. And I've always said, until we get the names and the correct numbers of these women and these sex traffic victims, I don't want to hear nothing. Like I say all the time, my daughter won't be part of that at all. And
Right,
we got to do something. We definitely have to do something. So
right.
I hear you, Doc. I'll put you back on full screen.
That's okay. By now, you may or may not have heard that Stevie Wonder has announced that he is moving to Ghana permanently. And I'm going to read the quote as Stevie said it because I don't want to get it wrong. His quote is this: I don't want to see my children's children have to say, oh, please like me. Please respect me. Please know that I'm important. Please value me.
Mm,
What kind of shit is that? So Stevie packing up and leaving.
yes, listen.
So Stevie can see
Listen,
it.
if Stevie Wonder, let me get you so they can see me. If Stevie Wonder see that this is bogus here, Stevie
I'm
said,
bullshiggity.
"Oh." Stevie said, "Chuck them the deuce. I gone." Okay. And also if y'all can see at the bottom, March 7th. Akimba, if you still looking at what's going on March 7th, what's going on? What's going on? He cracked up. Like, see, bro, you know how we listen, we don't play no games around here. If Stevie ready, I'm coming with him. I'm about to call him. Like, Stevie, take me with you, because I didn't had enough of this. Stacy said, "Oh, they made Stevie curse. Damn, you know it's real." Yes. Listen, listen,
Hey, sometimes you got it. Sometimes you got it.
listen. They done made Stevie use foul language and
Mhm.
he's leaving. Just before you finish up with the news you can use, Doc. Um, Speaking of Stacy, let me take that down so y'all can see this. Lil sis also, because I got something. See, I be playing, I'm touching stuff. Okay, if you the young lady you guys just saw at the bottom, Stacy, she also has a podcast. It is on Instagram. It's called the it's I'm sorry, I'm tongue tied. It's called The Art of Conversation. It comes on every Sunday at 9 o'clock. Stacy, correct me if I'm wrong. It's 9 o'clock every Sunday on Instagram. It's The Art of Conversation. Check her out. Like baby sis be having some. I love the title because so you know what I mean? There is an art to conversation. So shout out to Stacy. Y'all can check her out on Just Stace on Instagram, The Art of Conversation on Instagram. Also, she is a photographer. So photos by Stacy on Instagram. Like baby sis got things happening. Like, hold on, my comments is going crazy right now because oh, like they calling me. Oh, it's Joe calling me right now. Hold on, y'all. It's like
Hold up, wait a minute.
1 second.
Right now, Andre's talking to our guest that's going to be coming on shortly. So we just want to make sure we don't have no technical difficulties, and our guest can kind of come in and join the show and share, his knowledge and information. If you don't know this brother, he's definitely somebody you want to know and kind of keep in touch with and follow with his work. Hopefully, they can kind of clear up the technical difficulties and get Joe, online. I only have maybe one more segment or one more story for news you can use. Once again, sorry for the delay. Just hanging in there with us for a little bit. It's technology. When it works, it works, and sometimes it takes a while. And we're doing our best we can to kind of bring the great information that people need to kind of start thinking moving forward.
Hey guys, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm back and I'm black. We're trying to get Mr. Joe in here. Like Doc, I heard you, Doc. Like you said, listen, that's the technology be having them a little difficult. Like yeah, like I'm sorry. Before Doc gets into the last bit of the news you can use, because we were shouting out another family member, baby sis. See Akimba know too. He like, look, next Sunday, the art of conversation. It's baby sis right there, Stacy Rose. It's Sunday, 9 p.m. Uh, and she's an artist. Yes, she is. A lot of us share that talent. She is a really dope artist. Um, what he got? He said y'all got to be playing this podcast. It's lit. Who Biggie? What you talking about?
No, that's right. That's right. That's what we do.
Yes, it absolutely, Stacy. Doc got this. We that's why
Mhm.
that's why we a tag team. Teamwork makes the dream work. So again, shout out to Stacy, the art of conversation. Shout out to Akimba, the Euro movement. It's a real movement going on, guys. I'm gonna let Doc finish. I'm about to Kanye West, Doc. I'm gonna go ahead and let you finish.
Okay. All right. All right.
I do have a couple more things to add on, but I'll go ahead and finish the news you can use, and I'm gonna play with the little fancy stuff at the bottom.
Okay. This is kind of my last chapter in the news you can use for this evening. You may or may not have heard that, or may not recognize the name, but the death of Cody Anderson. We've lost another Philadelphia legend lost to COVID. He co-hosted the Electric Magazine on WURD radio. He was the former owner of WHAT AM 1340. He was general manager and president of WDS 5501 105.3 FM. I'm going to read the quotes that I found because I just want to kind of do him justice. Cody was a pioneer and giant in broadcast journalism in the Black community in Philadelphia for decades. He was consistent, constructive, confident voice on the air. He encouraged persons of color to enter politics, to serve people, and make their community better places to live, said City Council President Darrell L. Clark wrote on Twitter after learning of Anderson's passing. A symbol of positivity, class, and achievement for our community is gone. It is on us now to carry on his memory and service to others. Rest in peace, my good friend. And that's from Patty Jackson.
Mm.
If you watch Fox 29, for goodness sake, Bill Anderson, that is his father.
Wow.
That was Bill Anderson's dad. And I want to read a quote from Bill Anderson about his dad because I think it speaks volumes of things that we've been talking about. Bill Anderson said one of many things, but this is the quote I wanted to read. I don't remember a time when my father wasn't there to guide us, to correct us, or love us. I remember Cody Anderson on the radio. I can't say it was HAT or DAS. Serious brother about the community. And one of the segments he used to do all the time is he had a segment called "What is your need?" And people would call in and they would say what they would need. And somebody else would call and say, "Okay, I got that. You can come get this." But always, always a community activist, upstanding gentleman in the community, and that is a huge loss. And once again, he's the father of Bill Anderson on Fox 29. Bill Anderson's segment is, I think, called For Goodness Sake on Fox 29. So I just wanted to pass that on and pay tribute to Cody Anderson, another great Philly legend. Gone too soon.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And with um with that being said, because of course I have yet another something else to put up on the screen before we go into our guest, because our guest is here in the waiting room, guys. So Mr. Joe, he made it. So we want to keep him here. So too much too much more time about this, but just to kind of piggyback off of what Doc was saying, with the loss of someone. And if you guys don't know or don't remember, we are a year to the day when Ahmaud Arbery lost his life. That was a year today. I know a lot of people, y'all probably been seeing his picture going across your Facebook page, or you just might remember because you're one of the people that we're just tired of the bullshit. Like, let's keep it funky. This Philly Unfiltered, we're tired. I am tired of seeing these black men, our black kings, being put to rest on the streets and on camera. And if y'all watching the screen, these are the two. Those two took his life. Okay. So I would love for us to take a moment of silence for Ahmaud Arbery. And of course, I got my music playing. I hope y'all can hear um, this song. But it's just like a quick little snippet. And this is for you. Can we please just take a quick moment of silence for him and everybody that lost their life, not just to the public with the white men. I'm just talking everybody that lost their life last year, this year. So this is before we introduce our next guest. I just want to take a quick second to do this. So here we go. Though I'm missing you, although I I'll find a way to get through. I'll find a way living without you. 'Cause you were my sister, my strength, and my pride. Only God may know why. Still, I will get by. Yeah, I know we can't play that for too long. I'm sorry I had to interrupt that so soon. The last show we did, y'all, they tried to shut us down. So I had to abruptly interrupt that. I'm sorry, but y'all know how I'm feeling. We um we definitely, definitely, definitely miss everyone. Y'all don't have to know them to miss them. Their lives were taken by the hands of our own or somebody else's. And as you guys watch this, I'm putting people's comments at the bottom. Stacy Rose said 2.23 mile run. If you run for a mod because he can't anymore, please run in his name and speak his name because he can't run anymore. Like that's facts, and that's really heartfelt. Like he can't. Him, not George Floyd, not Breonna Taylor. Like no, it's sad that I can't sit here and name every single one, but I promise y'all, Philly Unfiltered. If it takes me months, every time we do a show, I'm gonna have some names scrolling at the bottom of the screen, just out of respect for y'all, like that, because that's what we do. But yeah, I'm trying not to get angry. It's a good show. Like we said, y'all, we have
Right.
a special guest coming through. He's here. He is in the building. That's not Ahmad Aubrey. That still says Ahmad Aubrey at the bottom of the screen. That's not him. We have Mr. Acted coming to the show. He is here. So I still don't have my applause ready, but when I do, I hope that I'll have it to clap. But everybody, please welcome Mr. Joe Beckton. Joe, are you
Yes, I am. I am here. How are you?
here? Claps all around for you, Mr. Joe. Thank you for joining us tonight. Um, everybody saw when you called. We told them they're rooting for you to get here, Mr. Joe. So you're here. So we thank you for joining us.
Okay, can you hear me at all?
Absolutely, we can hear you. We can see
Okay,
you. We can hear you.
you can't see me, but you can hear me.
Yes.
I can hear you. We definitely can hear
Well, I guess we should continue. I'm not sure why my face is not showing up. When I did my test, it worked.
Mhm.
Uh, yep. Well, I'm not going to mess around with you guys. I don't know.
No, we lost them.
you. Mm-mm. You're probably touching stuff.
Yeah, because when he called, he said that it was something going on with his browser. It's fine because if we can't get Mr. Joe back in here, we'll bring him back on Thursday. It is not a problem. If not Thursday, then we'll bring you back on the next day. It doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
this is what we doing. And before we continue, we could just have a between Doc and I, well, with everybody, because
Absolutely.
if you guys didn't know, we stream live not only to Facebook but also to YouTube and to Twitch. So to Legato, however you pronounce your last name. Luckily, my viewers can't see the comments, but like, grow up, bro. Just grow up. Like, it's dope that you know how to do that graphically, but grow up, sir. And just know you will no longer have access to Philly Unfiltered. But thanks for the comment anyway. Like, um, back to our regularly scheduled program, Doc.
Absolutely.
I used
Absolutely.
to look up, and I'd be so excited, and I'd be touching stuff, and I click to show them
Hmm.
a comment.
Right.
I'm not showing that to my folk, but
Nah.
as
Mm-mm.
we wait for Mr. Joe to come back onto the scene with the gangster lean. As y'all can see, I'm still putting the comments up at the bottom. Everybody, thank y'all for tuning in. So Doc, let's just have a chit chat about something before we get Uncle Joe back. What we talking?
Well, let's see what we're talking about. I think for the most part, with the vaccine and with COVID, we've been at this for, coming up on almost a year now. Um, we talk about, you know, the adjustments that we've had to make and how are people getting through it? And let's talk about some of the great things that came out of COVID. Number one, Philly Unfiltered, we would not be here
Facts. That's on facts.
if it had not been for our community superhero, Adam Duncan. I don't know who, what, when, or where. I might have ran into, Picasso.
Yeah.
you
Listen,
know,
if Adam, and shout out again always to Adam McNeil, if Adam would have never If I wouldn't have been not doing what I was supposed to do, because I probably was supposed to be doing something, was on Facebook and saw Adam's video. Had he not did that, I thank him over and over again for just setting that up. Because I probably would have never met you, Doc, because I didn't do community events.
Right.
I didn't do community events, but about that vaccine, and I believe it was the one. It was at the convention center. It was a group of Black people, ran by a Black woman. They had a vaccination site for the people in the neighborhood, and as usual, the white folk came round and start to get the vaccine. So now they're taking away from the people in the neighborhood. So when they started to run out, they couldn't figure out, why did they put two and two together?
Right.
So now like this whole thing on the news, and one of the newscasters asked her, so because she said, listen, we're going to finish out everybody that registered. But after that, like it's going to be like really extensive, like ID, like you got to prove that you part of this neighborhood, to get
Right.
the vaccine, because you can't keep having people coming and taking things that were designed for us. They've been doing it for years and they still doing it. They blatantly doing it.
Right.
So one of the news people asked her, like, so if somebody come and they're not part of the neighborhood, you're not gonna give them the vaccine? She was like, no, 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 I wouldn't either. I
Mhm.
wouldn't either, because when y'all had it, y'all didn't want to give it to us. Y'all wanted to give us that rinky dink thing that y'all made up in the kitchen, like somebody that was cooking coke, and tell us that it's okay. Y'all want to give it to all the Black people. But then once y'all took some more time and actually put some real time into it, now when we get a dose, a hand on it, now y'all want to come and take that again. Like, sit y'all happy behinds down somewhere. Always doing something. So why we doing that? Because I'm very bright and I'm glowing.
Right. Right.
So
Speaking of bright and glowing,
bright and glowing.
what's on the shirt? What's going on there? What's that?
Because I'm bright. Because this is something that I also want to start doing for the Black people, because we always talk about Black owned businesses and we trying to shout everybody out every chance that we get. So if y'all know anybody, put them in the comments too. So we gonna shout them out on any show, whatever. But like Doc said, I'm bright right now because y'all know my hubby, Philly's own DJ Fat Cat, was on the show last week, and he goes live on Monday on the internet radio show. You have to download the app, and it's called Party Savers.
Absolutely.
Party Savers. Look, hold on, Doc. I even got something even doper. Hold on.
Okay. Watch out. What's she got now? What's she doing? Party Savers. Party Savers 101. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. There you go. There you go. Uh-huh.
Even got the mask on. We even got the mask on. So
Um,
shout out to hubby doing his thing on Party Savers 101. Y'all can also, and that's every Monday at 12 o'clock. Y'all can also catch him on Jumpin' 215 Radio every Wednesday. I believe it's at 2 o'clock. They be having my boo doing 12 or 2, or
mhm.
2 hours or 1 hour or whatever. So again, shout out to my boo. If you have any, merch, any t-shirts or something y'all want us to rock, then we here for it. We all about it. That's what
Okay.
we do. Doc.
Andrea, can you do me a favor? Can you hold it down? I'm gonna try and give. Oh, here he comes. Here he comes. I was
See,
just gonna give him a call. Hello.
Mr. Joe.
I'm back again, the best I can get there.
He back
That's
and
okay. We appreciate it. Hold on. Hold on.
he is back and he is black.
Glad you made it back, man. You made it back, Joe.
Yes, yes, yes,
Well,
yes.
even though you can't see me, that's definitely true.
That's
That's okay. That's
that's
okay.
fine, because we gonna put your picture up so they can see. There's Mr.
Hey,
Joe Beck, and he is back,
that's
and
it. Yeah.
that is him.
Mhm.
So how are you, Mr. Joe? Again, how's your spirit tonight?
Well, I'm slightly tried. The machines are always wonderful when they work, and slightly difficult when they don't work. So, but all in all, I'm doing pretty good. I've been trying to prepare myself for this evening, and ready for a good conversation and questions. I did have some images, but maybe I had to use them on a different time.
It's absolutely
Okay.
Again, thank you for coming, everybody. Welcome, Mr. Joe Beckton. And we gonna have a lot of information just going across the screen so the people can, read it and listen to you. So Doc, you want to start us off?
Joe Beckton, I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. We kind of go back a long time. I just want to thank you because we're putting together Black History Month, and I couldn't imagine, even possibly trying to do this without, having you come on the show and have some input. And we appreciate your time. We know this is a very, very busy month for you, and definitely looking forward to hearing your insight, to our questions and telling your story. For those that don't know, Joe Beckton is a wealth of knowledge of African American history, Philadelphia history, those that have served, people of color that have served in the military. U.S. does the reenactment of the U.S. colored troops, and he does historical tours in and around Philadelphia. And if you have not been on a Joe Beckton tour, you are missing a tremendous experience. I don't even want to call it, it's an experience because it will be unlike anything that you have ever seen, heard, or done before. Because most of the time when people think history, they kind of think boring, it happened in the past, all the people are dead, why not? But Joe incorporates music, storytelling, history in a way that makes history come alive. And the way he presents it gets its roots from, I would say, Africa, the griot, how they pass down, their legends and their stories and their wisdom to carry on that tradition. So I'm gonna leave it right there. I'm gonna let Joe talk a little bit about himself, and then we'll kind of start in with the questions.
Well, thank you so much, Doc. That was that's wonderful. Well, thank you, sir. The basic idea is that I do actually call myself a griot or jolly. The guys who went from town to town, playing music, telling the story, giving a poetic rendition. In some countries they call them mantras or mantras. So this whole connection with the beginning of civilization, people passing their stories on from one generation to the other generation. One of my favorite historians was a brother named John Hendrick Clark. And he said that history is a way that people can gauge who they are individually, who their community is, and what history means. So he managed to tie these three things together. He did a great deal of his life there in Harlem at the public schools there, and then he went on to write about ancient Egypt and the crossings from the Atlantic Ocean and things like that. Many years, as a matter of fact, especially last year, we had a wonderful man, Mr. Murphy, Rick Murphy, who was out there talking about 400 years. So we were kind of excited about that 400 years thing. But of course, many of us know, well, some of my teachers were Moors, and the Moors told me, he said, well, what was the old world is the new world. What was the new world is the old world. And of course, it took me years to fathom it. But what they were saying was that long before things happened in the so-called old world, the European and African side, things were happening in the new world, the American side. So once again, one of the pictures I wanted to show was this picture of a Black person from Central America from 1500 BC. He's part of a tribal group called the Olmecs, and they built these giant heads. Yes, ma'am.
What can you spell that for me? Let me see if I can bring it. I'll show it.
Olmec. Olmec. They call them the rubber people, and they've got some beautiful. Matter of fact, we're up to like 21 of these heads now, and of course the heads are made of stone, balsa, and you can't really tell how old they are. Well, you can't date stone. Once you got it in a stone, it's a stone. You can have some or something growing on top of it, and I don't tell you it's very old, but you really can't date stone. So right now we're pushing for that 1500 BC. The Olmecs with the first organized communities, if you call them, or civilization, if you will, in Central America. So 400 years is nice, but even when we look at that 400 years, here's 100 years, starting in the 1400s, that the Spanish and the Portuguese, yes, there they go.
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go. That's a real one right there. The lower one with the 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. We got more than half the heads there, right? So, in the beginning, when they first uncovered them back in the 1940s, they said, "Oh, well, these are just stylized images of gods," and there weren't no Africans there. But I disagree, and I think when you look at these pictures, I think you will also disagree with them. So,
Oh, absolutely.
making a
Absolutely.
long story short, and just the beginning, because I want to introduce people to these kinds of things, because when it comes to history, a lot of times things are left out, neglected, and even sometimes purged, so that we don't really get the real feeling of as to who we are and what we are, right? So,
Right.
um, so Olmecs, 1500 BC, Black people in America. I'd also like to say too that everybody Black is not from Africa. Mhm. I
Mm.
know this is a fact that's been hidden from us, but
Yeah.
when you go to India, you see Black people, right? And when you go to the Andros Islands, you see Black people. When you go to Australia, you see Black people. When you go to the Polynesian Islands, you see Black people. Yeah. So
Mhm.
there always this conversation, especially from a European basic perspective, is that all Blacks are Africans and all Africans are Blacks. And of
Right.
course, in a
That's not
real way, we as Africans didn't even start that phrase, African thing. It's a Roman thing. You had a country or a region that in North Africa, in Libya, and they called that place Afrique. So from that, we get a lot of our problems and misconceptions about who we are, what we are. Of course, most of
plus
the people,
some
many people
people
call Africa don't even consider themselves really Africans. They consider themselves Igbos, Zulu,
Right.
Hausa, San. So,
we want to break that down a little bit. We don't want to give the people too much of that because Doc told me that you are a true Philadelphia historian, and I know that you can give us all of this in one time, but Uncle Joe, we only have an hour. So and we want we want the people to know you. We want them to know more about you and what you've done, and we can absolutely segue into what you know. But can we, because I like all this fancy stuff. I got to have all your information right here going across the
Right.
screen, and I know Doc has an abundance of questions, that he probably particularly had out for the audience to know about you because you guys, have known each other for years. So, just don't give them too much yet, Uncle Joe. Just
Right.
we're gonna bring it out of them a little bit.
Right. Right.
So,
So,
I
Joe.
go ahead, Doc.
So, Joe, I kind of want to, kind of bring it home a little bit, and if you could talk about, the Black experience in Philadelphia, from arriving, to slaves and where they settled, free and the enslaved in and around the city of Philadelphia, because Philadelphia does have a rich African American history.
well, you're absolutely right, and certainly we can do that. You know, and a lot of times people will hear my different discussions and they'll say, "Well, if you don't like America, why don't you go back where you came from?"
Hmm.
And I always have to say, well, actually, my people have been here in the Philadelphia area since 1644. 1644, there was a brother named Anthony, sometimes called Antonio, came here with the Swedes, Governor Prince. So he's the first African that we have on paper in the Philadelphia area. There's a small park down at just down on the other side of the county, the other side of the airport, and that's where he started. That's where they started, and that's where we can document our first African in Philadelphia. So that's pretty big. It's pretty big because almost nobody who ever tells me to go back where I came from, their people
Hmm.
came here anything near that time. I mean, he
Right.
was here
Absolutely.
before William Penn was here. He was here before there was a Pennsylvania. He was here before there was a Philadelphia.
Hmm.
So
Right.
uh, that's where our whole kind of discussion, our thing really starts. It's right there in the 1640s. So by the time William Penn gets here, there are quite a few Africans living in the area, some up in the Germantown area, some down in the Delaware County area. By the time they got Philadelphia started itself, uh, uh, Thomas Holmes showed up and started the town. And by the time he got it started, once again, Africans were already here. they started to bring a large number of Africans in 1684. 1684, a Dutch ship showed up, the Dutch again, right? The Dutch ship showed up and had 150 Africans for sale, of course. Now, these people, some of them were Quakers, many of them were Swedes, many of them were Dutch, and they just bought those Africans up, if you will, like hotcakes, because Philadelphia was called Koganakwa, the place of pines. So they had to clear all these pines out to build their city. Once again, never make the mistake thinking that William Penn discovered Pennsylvania. No, he didn't. When he got off his boat to welcome, he walked over to a tavern on Front Street called the Blue Anchor Tavern and had some kind of libation. So, he's not a discoverer. And of course, at that Blue Anchor Tavern, that's the same place where 2 years later, some 150 Africans were sold. Maybe the most famous family from that group is the Fortin family. Okay? So some of you have heard of James Fortin, the sailmaker in Philadelphia. Well, his grandfather, Fortin, came here enslaved. His father managed to buy his freedom, Thomas, and of course, James was born free. So we've got all these kinds of very, very interesting connections. So in the 1600s, things were very vague. They weren't sure who was enslaved, who was free, who was indentured. See, so there were kind of three categories, and it was confusing. They didn't know for sure. 1701, William Penn issued his Charter of Privileges, and that's what nailed it down, that people of African descent should be enslaved, or generally would be enslaved. And of course, we kind of run with that statement even to this day, where it's, you see some people say things like ex-slaves and things like that just, of course, doesn't make any sense. But that's the way that they like to refer to us and things they want to call us. So 1700, things start to change. The Africans in Philadelphia, just like most Africans, we like to enjoy life. We like to make a joyful noise. We like to praise the Lord. We like to praise nature, and those kinds of things were the things that were going on here in Philadelphia. Of course, you remember the famous story from New York, where the Dutch showed up in New York and they had a bunch of blue beads. So they came to the Native Americans and said, "We have blue beads." They said, "Blue beads? Man, that's cool. Where you get the blue? We'll trade you for the blue beads." But of course, the Europeans wanted to trade land for blue beads. They tried to explain to them that you really can't buy land because it's here, and when you leave, it'll still be here.
Right.
Right. They still wanted to give up those blue beads, so
right.
They took the beads.
So in around Philadelphia, Joe, there are certain key places where people of color would congregate. One would be Washington Square, right off of 6th and Walnut, that area there. Talk a little bit about that if you could.
It's wonderful, wonderful. Washington Square, initially called Congo Square, or Southeast Square. So the basic idea was that when Philadelphia got set up, they set up 5 squares. They're like fire blocks. William Penn had seen the Great Fire of London in 1666. He wanted to make sure that didn't happen to his town. So he built these fire blocks so that the fire wouldn't burn across the whole town like it did in New York, or like it did in Rome, or like it did in London, or like it did in Chicago, or like it did in San Francisco. So it was really a good plan ultimately. And every Sunday, Sunday was the day off. 6 days you work, and on the 7th day you rest. And on that 7th day, initially Africans used to gather at the City Hall there at 2nd and Market. And of course, the Quakers don't like a whole lot of dancing and playing and singing and stuff like that. They feel it's very disrespectful. And of course, on the first day, that was the day they called Sunday. We call Sunday, they called the first day. And the Africans was just their day off. So they met down at the City Hall, 2nd and Market, food, drinks, music. The Quakers complained so much that eventually they moved it uptown to just on the outskirts of town. And that's what we call today Washington Square or Congo Square. That also ended up as a burial ground for people of African descent. Well, actually, it was a potter's field. So it was actually for everybody who did not have a church connection and everybody who they did not like. So African graveyard there. There was an Irish graveyard there. There were a foreigner's graveyard for sailors and soldiers. During the Revolution, many of the soldiers who died in the Revolution were ended up buried there, and there was a prison right across the street. So many of the people they put in prison ended up buried there. So we got a whole section of that yard that was for the African Americans. As early as 1782, we went to the state of Pennsylvania and said, "Hey, give us a portion of this graveyard to be ours, so we can bury our people there. And of course, the state of Pennsylvania said no.
All right, absolutely.
So we tried it again in 1790 with the city of Philadelphia, and they said no. By 1795, we had finished our very earliest churches, St. Thomas's and Mother Bethel, and we started burying our own church grounds and stopped burying in that public space anymore. So it's an amazing story. Every Sunday, the people met with music, libations, celebrations, speaking the traditional languages, and as I said, called it Congo Square. One of my teachers, a guy named Charles Bloxon, Dr. Bloxon, you know him, the Bloxon Collection at Temple.
Sure, that's right.
And one of the things I kind of badgered him about. I said, well, where's the documentation? Where's the documentation? Where's it? And he turned to me one day and he said, Joe, oral tradition. Now, of course, you know, among historians, they don't like oral tradition because it's not written down. You know what historians very mention? The reason that we don't have stories from ancient America, that we don't have stories from ancient Egypt, is because they burned up libraries.
Absolutely, absolutely.
They burned Alexandria, they took from Mexico. So by burning libraries, oh, by the way, they also burned city halls all across the South after the Civil War. So burning up the records, then you have nothing to refer to, and then they can always say you have nothing to refer to because you have nothing. So it's all a tangled kind of a plot as to how to interpret history, what is real to history, and it gets to be a big problem.
Absolutely. Now, Joe, we got a lot on the cover tonight, so if you could kind of tone it down a little bit. We appreciate all the knowledge, but we're trying to get through a lot of it, if you don't mind.
All right.
Next, moving on, with all your history and giving tours in and around Philadelphia, what was it like? I mean, who told that story, I guess, before, you know, I guess you kind of started telling the African-American experience?
Well, we have a long and great tradition in Philadelphia of historians. We really do. In the 20th century, I already mentioned Mr. Bloxon, Dr. Parham, Jackie Wiggins, who's still with us, is still doing a wonderful job. Before them, then there was Charles Wesley. Charles Wesley was the president of the African American Museum. So these kinds of folks were telling those stories. George Washington Williams, not from Philadelphia, but also telling the stories of the Revolution, the Civil War, and the Underground Railroad. Benjamin Quarles, of course, of Morgan State. So just a plethora of people who are writing our stories. 1855, William C. Nell was one of the first ones who wrote about the revolution. He said that we need to illuminate the stories of those forgotten soldiers and heroes.
Right. Now, in and around Philadelphia, there are several monuments to people of color that have served in multiple wars, correct?
Yes, we have our big monument up on Benjamin Franklin Parkway, and that came after World War II. We call it the All Wars Colored Memorial. And when the city and the state helped to pay for it, as well as the community, and as they were paying for it, then it was like, well, where are we going to put this thing? You know, because it was 6 black soldiers and sailors on it, and some kind of a Greek woman in the front there. So where are we going to put this thing? And everybody said, oh, no, you're not putting it in my neighborhood. You're not putting it in my neighborhood. So they took it and they hid it out in Fairmount Park, out behind Kelly's Pool. And it was out there for, must have been out there for 40 years. And then when John Street became mayor, he brought it back downtown and put it where it needed to be, in front of the Franklin Institute. So that's one of our biggest monuments. Of course, one of our newest monuments is Octavius Cato Monument right there at the City Hall. You know, a black man, educator, sportsman, soldier, just an amazing genius. Not to say too much about him, but maybe this little story. When I was growing up, there was a school called Cato. OV Cato is what they called it. And it was a reform school. So for all my life, I never wanted to go to Cato. I never liked the idea of Cato until I grew up, read a book, and found out that Cato is one of the greatest Philadelphia heroes because of his work during the Civil War, desegregating the buses, education, and of course, he was murdered on Election Day, 1871, by a white Democrat. So Cato statue is right there. As we continue around, we also get great with the murals. So we have murals about every single body. It's just amazing. I don't even know where to begin talking about. There was an Albert Greenfield mural collection. So the Greenfield School, the Greenfield family helped to pay
Right.
for his collection. So that
Mhm.
collection out there and is scattered all across the city.
Right. Well, back to Octavius Cato and the statue. How significant is that in the city of Philadelphia? Because there was a big push about tearing down the Rizzo statue, and as African Americans, we really don't see a lot of monuments or statues to people of color. So how significant is the Octavius Cato to our story?
Very, very significant. Uh, Once again, I told you some of the things that he did.
Mhm.
He was even a sportsman. Had his own black baseball team, the Pythians. So
Right.
he was kind of everywhere. He didn't live long enough to actually get married and have some kids. But the idea that the city helped to finance to that particular statue to a great extent, and to
Mhm.
emphasize his work as an educator. I also like the idea that we emphasize the bus boycotts, the education, his multiple languages that he spoke. A lot of time in America, they make statues about war and murder.
Right.
And this guy, he is not a murderer. He's not a war-oriented person. So, because of the Philadelphia over idea of the pacifist so-called Quakers,
Right.
because of our love of education, one of the things that keeps Philadelphia afloat right now is our educational institutions, uh,
Mhm.
and our love of freedom. So this guy embodies all those kinds of things, and we get this wonderful image of him as a freedom fighter, an educator, and a black man who is very, very, very knowledgeable.
And if I remember correctly, that was actually Mayor Kenny's idea when he was in city council.
Yes, sir. As a matter of
That
fact,
initiative there.
Mayor Kenny and the city council earlier on, about 10 years earlier, set up a smaller monument at the Eden Cemetery. Right? So the
Right.
Eden Cemetery is just on the outskirts of Darby, right?
Right.
But but it's still filled with Philadelphia people. As a matter of fact, the Eden Cemetery by itself is a major, major place.
Mhm.
They kept every time they expand the city, they would take over our old graveyards, like Olive Cemetery, where the Blankenburg School is today, or
Right.
the Lebanon Cemetery at 19th and Wolf. There's nothing there now.
Right.
House covered it all up. As a matter of fact, I believe those people have a lot of people in their backyards still buried there, because we still have people buried at the Olive Cemetery here in Philadelphia. But when they came through town, they expanded. They sold out the cemeteries, expanded, and sent almost everybody to Eden. First African Baptist was at Eden. St. Thomas's was at Eden. Olive was at Eden. Lebanon was at Eden. So almost all of the cemeteries went to Eden, and that's why I
Mhm.
personally call that Eden Cemetery the cemetery of cemeteries.
Right.
Yeah,
All right,
but
Jeff. At this time, we're going to take a little break, and then we'll come back to you in a minute or two.
okay,
Andrea?
very good, very good. Thank you, sir.
Yes, here I am.
Here
I'm
she is.
yeah, I'm right here. Listen, I'm back here playing with all these gadgets and stuff. It's like they see it like when Mr. Joe talked, they got his picture up. When you talk, to hear you come back, I'm having a great time. But
Got
yeah,
it all good. Got it all together. We
we got it
appreciate it.
all together, guys. So again, thank y'all, everybody that is tuning in, that's joined in, that stayed in, that's in the comments. Like Doc said, we're gonna take a quick music break as we always do. When we come back, we are going to check our spirits to make sure everyone is still, centered and having a great time. So guys, um this is definitely a song again this is by upon Doc's request. We this is Aretha Franklin's Amazing Grace. screen so y'all can see this beautiful outfit she got on. I should have started from right there, Doc.
I know. That's okay.
It's the it's the black people. Oh my goodness, I should have known. And this is the live version. And
Yeah,
it ain't no shade. I got to come back on camera.
that's okay. That's okay.
It ain't no shade to my black folk, but we will
No.
draw our song.
Absolutely.
We'll
And
draw out a church song, Jesus. Okay, it ain't even that many pages in the Bible. How
Mhm.
many minutes we take.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
But because that is a really that's amazing song. I love Aretha Franklin. Um maybe I could find a not live version
That's okay. That's okay.
and bring it
But
back. You think
right.
should I bring it back? Should I bring it back for the people, Doc? You want me to bring it?
No, I think, I think people got the gist, and I just wanted to share why I picked that song. As an African American, you've heard that song, you've sang that song, would it be, at a funeral or going home service. And it's a beautiful song. If you have not seen it, there's actually a documentary called Amazing Grace, featuring Aretha Franklin. It was filmed at a church 2 days, it's over 2 nights. James Cleveland is in it, Clara Ward is in it. Her father, Reverend C.L. Franklin, is in it as well. There's a cameo of Mick Jagger and Keith Jones all the way in the back, and it's a live concert of gospel music. But although we as a people sing this song, know this song, we don't always know the backstory. And in one of Joe's videos, I saw where he was giving the backstory on this song we know and love so much, Amazing Grace. So Joe, if you could share that story about Amazing Grace and how it came about.
Well, certainly. There was a fellow named John Newton. He was a slaver, traveling around the world enslaving people, making money. Did pretty well, all in all. One day he was out in one of his ships with a cargo, and he got caught in a horrible storm. And looked like the ship was going to go down. The mast broke, and it was just one of those moments. And of course, at those moments, usually we say things like, "Oh God, oh God," and I'm sure he was, "Oh God, please help me. If you just help me, everything,
Or
I'll
this
be a
one
better
last
man."
time, Jesus. If you get me out this one, Jesus, I come to church on Sunday. I promise. Ain't that what we say?
That's him. Matter of fact, I'll stop all that demon rum.
Yeah,
I'll stop enslaving people. I'll
yeah.
stop running around with all them women if you just let me live. And guess
Knowing
what
that it
happened?
ain't the truth.
He
Knowing
was,
that it ain't even the truth.
he was saved. Yes, he was. And ultimately, he became a minister, right? I think he was a Presbyterian minister, but people laugh about that. I'm not sure why. But he became a minister. And, when he was a minister, that was the hymn that he wrote. And of course, we argue all the time. Where did he get those words? Where did he get that melody? But nonetheless, he documented himself as writing that song, Amazing Grace, and it was all about him finding out who he really was and what he really wanted to do. So he went from an enslaver to a Christian man.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
That's
that's why I wanted you to share that story because, like I said, a lot of the times we don't know, the backstory, the full story. I mean, yes, it's a beautiful song, but it just kind of puts it in perspective. When you kind of hear how the song came about and the transformation that Mr. Newton would take. Now, Joe, in giving your tours around Philadelphia, I noticed that you have a very, very diverse audience. It's not all African American. It's a wide range of people from literally all over the world that come visit to partake and to kind of learn more about the history. And although a lot of them come to, I imagine, learn about the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and all those founding fathers. Um, what is their reaction when you kind of paint a fuller picture for them?
Well, interestingly enough, most people know something about me and they want my tour. Now, I have run into people who didn't know anything about me, and when they started on my tour, they were quite surprised. I could talk about the Declaration of Independence, but I go on to mention that the Declaration of Independence is a pro-slavery document. You go halfway down the paper and it says that the king encouraged domestic insurrection. That means he's telling the domestics, African domestics, to have an insurrection, a revolution against the Americans. Why? Because the Americans do not offer freedom, but the British do. So little things like this sometimes shake people off their pedestal, I believe, and that upsets them. I was talking to one of my bosses from Fort Mifflin about a couple of days ago, and he recanted stories to me that he never told me from 20 years ago, from 1989, when I was working at Fort Mifflin, where people would come in and complain about me.
Yeah. For telling the truth.
What's that guy out there doing out there talking about black people?
Right.
So yes, I've had that. I've had the confrontations, and of course, every time you write something, it just draws the wolves, and then it's time to fight. So yes, I believe in that modernized interpretation. I believe in being more inclusive, and I definitely believe in telling the stories of the Africans, women and men in this area and in all areas as to how heroic they were. The essence of my story is that we Africans in America define what freedom is. Even when they wrote their special papers, they didn't write freedom in there. You look at that Declaration, it's in there, it's not in there. Look at the Constitution, it's not in there. They use a word called liberty. Well, I guess that's okay. I'm still a little shaky on what that really means.
Right.
And then they have another word that they use, the independence. Independence. And of course, one of my good questions is, what does independence have to do with freedom? But when you look at our story as African Americans, we beat every obstacle. And I mean every obstacle: religious obstacles, intellectual obstacles, social obstacles, war obstacles. We beat every single obstacle. From the beginning of petitioning to have a place to bury our dead. By the time we get to the 1950s, we're petitioning to eating McDonald's. So from the war battlefield to the college to the bathroom to the water fountain, we overcame each of these obstacles, and by us overcoming those obstacles, we are the definition of freedom. All that stuff about being able to kill every Indian in the world or every German, that is what makes America special. There's thousands of countries over hundreds of years that have made murder and execution, raping, burning, pillaging their way of life. And we have not made that our way of life, but there are some people out there who project that upon us. And what's so sad about it is that many of us, young and old, consume that and believe that we are really murderers. We are really criminals. We are really rapists. And if you go to your graveyards, like Eden Cemetery, you'll see tens of thousands of people who were not criminals, murderers, and rapists, and who built this country. So we, as Africans in America, define freedom for yesterday, for today, and for tomorrow. And if you think that makes people mad, you're right.
Really. Speaking of tomorrow, how is the story of African Americans taught in the school system? Has that changed over the years, or what, if anything, have we moved the needle on that?
Well, we Philadelphia once again is right up there in the front with that kind of stuff. We had in our school board, I guess it must have been 10 years ago, we had on our school board where they voted that we were going to have a African American curriculum, addition to the regular curriculum for everybody. And of course, that was a little bit too much for some of them. They it was a lot too much for some of them. But nonetheless, what they did was they gave us a department and then they defunded it.
Oh gosh. Nah.
So there were teachers like Dana King, the lawyer, and Melvin Garrison, the school board member, that when you worked on these things for all these years, and then they pulled the rug from underneath of them. Now, right now, at this minute, well, you saw it last month when the old president going out put out his new curriculum. He called it 1776.
Right.
And you don't want to talk about slavery, and you don't want to talk about Indians, and you don't want to talk about injustice. You know, what country you live in? What country you live in? You don't want to talk about this. You don't want to talk about history. And Texas, they've got a new thing going now because most of the textbooks are taken. I guess Texas has a big school systems. So most of the textbooks are written based on what Texas wants. Texas has decided to move Blacks, Indians, and Mexicans from their textbooks.
Right.
So we're still in a very, very, very big war about, who's going to tell the story, what's important about the story. Is Andrew Jackson better than Harriet Tubman?
Absolutely.
I got my.
Now, Joe, there's a lot of organizations and historic houses in Philadelphia, such as the Paul Robeson House, the Marian Anderson Historical Society, African American Museum, there's Belmont Mansion. With COVID, I mean, just in general, how are they holding up or sustaining themselves?
We're all hurting. We're all hurting very much. We were all kind of hands-on. Since we were smaller, we had problems getting large crowds into our buildings. But right now, there's no crowds, there's no money. Very, very difficult. The police, Lest We Forget Museum, the Slavery Museum up in Germantown, we're all hurting. Johnson House, we're all hurting.
Right. I just saw something recently. Johnson House has got $1 million grant or something. I guess maybe do some renovations. And the Coltrane House, is that still hanging on by a thread, or what's going on with that?
Well, people keep telling me about cousin John's cousin, I guess it was, and she owns the house, but she's very sick or something. So there's very little movement on the Coltrane House. We did get some pump this year though because of the Vision Show. The Vision Show did a piece on Lady Day, so we got some pump on that Lady Day and the Showboat. The Showboat Jazz Club, which used to be right there at Lombard and 15th. So we got some pump on that. As a matter of fact, it was just this week when they did that segment on Lady Day. So Lady Day, John Coltrane, and some of our living guys like Sam Reed are still around and still, if you will, doing the do. I always enjoy having a chance to play with those very famous people. I do.
Absolutely. And then earlier we were talking a little bit. Before you came on, we talked about the passing of Cody Anderson and what he meant to the African American community at BTT and DAS. Talking about his contributions, as well.
Yeah, well, he's, as you said, he's just maybe I use this word too much. Just an amazing man. That it came from the if you will, the DAS folks, and he helped to make them successful. I believe. I don't think they would be successful without him. And then of course, a social activist. When it was time to get out in the street, Cody was out in the street when Mr. Blockson met with the Park Service to talk about building a presidential house and on 6th and Market. Cody was right there, standing right there beside Mr. Blockson, one of my teachers. So just an amazing man, committed to the community, committed to radio. I don't have a tendency to be real big on media. And I'm not to insult anybody, but I'm not real big on media because they tend to put out so much propaganda and so much negativism that really eats at our community. And he was like a shining light in the middle of all that negativism, And then when they cut him off and they got rid of his station, he started his own station, WURD.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's how you do.
Yeah.
That's it.
So they couldn't
Mhm.
stop him. They couldn't stop
No,
an amazing man. Amazing man.
right. So we're about ready to wrap up because it's almost 10:30. But one last thing, a gentleman that you mentioned time and time again, Charles Blockson. How is he? Is he still with us, or what's going on with Mr. Blockson?
He's still with us. You know, he I guess 2 years he finished a book on France, Samuel France, the France
Right.
Tavern, Black Sam. So that was the last book that he finished. I have all of his books. Um,
Hmm.
but you know, he's getting up there. I believe he's almost 90, and he's getting
Wow.
up there. So I know that his daughter has to bring him to different places now, but he still
Hmm.
does come down to his collection for special presentations that Dr. Turner puts on there. So he's
Absolutely.
there. Uh, it, my aunt used to say about my uncle who was a public speaker. She'd say when he turned 80, he gave all the same speeches all the time. So I guess if the speech is working, why not keep giving it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm only 68, so I got some to go.
You got some time to go. Time to go. So Joe, what we're going to do is we're going to put your website in the banner at the bottom that's scrolling across the bottom of the page. How can we help you? How can you support what you do? We're definitely going to spread the word here on Philly Unfiltered.
Well, like you said, I've got a brand new website, joebeckton.org. So that's brand new. It's got my music. It's got history. I've got a couple of articles coming out. We just finished with Willie. Louis Masai. We just finished with Louis Masai making up a video about Stephen Smith. So sometime
Wow.
I think you should see that Stephen Smith video coming. Amazing. Look, I used the word too much, but it's amazing, man. This guy was started out as an indentured servant and ended up being one of the richest people in the state. So just an amazing thing. Stephen Smith, home of 44 from Baltimore, still holds
Right.
his name. And he was just he's foundational for who we are as Philadelphians and Pennsylvanians. So that's coming our way. Uh, and I guess that's the biggest one.
All right, Joe. I just wanted to thank you, for coming on, sharing your information. Like I said, I couldn't imagine, doing this month without you. It definitely kind of came to mind. I'm glad you had the time to kind of, come on our show and share your information. We'll share your information so people can kind of, reach out, support, and know about your programs.
Well, yes, I hope they do, and I will be here. You can see me walking down the street. Some people say I'm the loudest person in Philadelphia. So if you hear me, that's probably me.
I
There
believe
you.
we know people that might got you beat, Uncle Joe. I think we probably
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure we know some folk that got you beat, Uncle Joe. But thank you for coming. And please don't go anywhere because we always have a closeout tune. So we have something queued up especially for you, Uncle Joe. I'm pardon if I call you Uncle Joe. Uh,
Well, that's all right. I'm 68. I can deserve handle it, Uncle. I can handle it.
Yes, it fits so perfectly. But as Doc said, guys, we are closing out the show for tonight. And as always, we like to thank our guests for coming on. So we do thank you, Uncle Joe, for coming to chill with us, to talk to us, and giving our viewers and our friends all the history that you could. And as y'all can see, Uncle Joe got a lot of history. He could tell y'all all day about what happened in Philadelphia. Some things y'all probably never thought of, and I'm pretty sure that he can let y'all know. So we thank him again for coming. We hope everybody's spirit was changed from beginning to end in a good way. I hope we gave you guys resources and information. I hope Uncle Joe planted enough seeds for everybody that was listening. And as always, before we go, we do our shout outs to everybody. We do our community superhero shout out. So our bro was the first up to leave a comment, Akimba Bubani Ajuri. Like I said that name perfect this time, bro. Um he is part of the Yoru movement. I hope I say that too. I don't think I'd be pronouncing all my letters right. He is a great brother. He is always here to support us. Y'all know we've had him on the show at least 3 times, and he's always going to come back to support. I was waiting for him to send me a message so I could put his information for the movement in a banner so you guys can see it. But thank you, bro, for always coming through to shout us out. To little sister Stace, just stay Stacy Rose. Again, you guys, y'all can check her out on Instagram. She also has a podcast called The Art of Conversation. It comes on every Sunday on Instagram, like I said, at 9 o'clock. That's again going across the bottom of your screen. Y'all can check her out at Just Stace on Instagram. Uh, Photography by Stace because she's a
Mhm.
photographer. And like she just be doing all things Stacy. So it's so dope. Like really, really check her out. Her shows are so bomb. Also, guys, I wrote it down this time, Doc. Also, as usual, we always shout out our our one of our number one community superheroes, Adam McNeil. He's doing big things. He's taking a break now, y'all. He's just like enjoying life and just reaping the benefits of just him giving. Like Adam has been giving like all last year. Like Doc, we always tell y'all how we met each other. And he is one of the reasons why Doc and I are even doing this show. So we always shout him out just to show him how much we love him and appreciate him. So again, shout out to you, Adam McNeil. You take this break, King, because you need it. Enjoy that new car that you got because you deserve it. And everything that comes your way. So shout out to you. Shout out to George Raleigh Cephas. He is another community superhero, one of our favorites, because the day that Doc and I met was the day that I met George.
Absolutely.
And the day that I met
Absolutely.
George was the day that George asked me to do one of his events, and Doc was at that event. Like every time I went, Doc was there. So me and Doc was like, listen, let's just get it done and do what we do. So that's why we're here. So shout out to George Wiley Cephas. He is the founder of Survival to Success. He's the author of 50 Questions to Survival, I believe. 50 Questions to Healing. 50 Questions to Healing. I'm sorry, George. So
Mhm.
for that. Also shout out to Anthony Baker Jr., another awesome, awesome, awesome community superhero. He is the founder of Helping the Homeless. And of course, Princes of Power Inc., Millennium Candy and Gifts, and Philly Unfiltered. Princes of Power is a nonprofit. We are putting together something to send to Texas, guys. So if you have any donations that you want to send them, it's so many food pantries. They are really not asking for food at this moment, but when they get back to me, I'm going to let you guys know. But they're really asking for household items. A lot of people need their houses rebuilt. They weren't expecting this type of stuff. So again, if you have anything you want to contribute, please email us at phillyunfiltered215 at gmail.com. I'm trying to talk, so I can't put it in the banner right now, but it's going to be everywhere. So those are all of our community superheroes. Thank you to Uncle Joe for coming. Also, guys, Thursday, me and Doc were just talking about this because Thursday is the 26th. It's the last show of the month. So what we think we're gonna do, we just might invite some of our this month's guests back and have a little, you know, Thursday. We're gonna put that together. Y'all make sure y'all watch because we had the dopest people. In February, like once, like these people, the numbers just went crazy when we had Anisha, Akimba, Adam, like Joe, DJ Fat Cat, Denise King, like everybody. Like this month, y'all got us to 2.5K. Like February was like dumb crazy. Like not to take away from any other month because you guys, y'all, we started this in October. So that's another show. But thank y'all. So please join us on Thursday. Also, next month, y'all know usually Doc be like, yeah, next month we're gonna do next month is my month. So I'm gonna keep talking on the mic.
That's it. That's it.
Next month, my month. So as I said, guys, I was shouting out next month being women's month and all that other stuff, whatever. So I did my research, and my people, my Philly unfiltered people, my black people, I came across something I think everybody should know. When I researched women's month, the picture that they had was all white women holding American flags. I'm not a white woman. I ain't see no black women for Women's Month. So I felt like they wasn't respecting the melanin. So I typed in Black Women's Month.
It ain't March. It ain't March.
It ain't March. It's April. Black women, melanins, queens. It's April. It is April. They gave
Absolutely.
they separated our months. We couldn't even celebrate in March with them. They gave us a separate damn month. So we got to take over March and April because that's what we do here at Philly Unfiltered. So we mixing it up next month. We having some kings and queens. We got some real like I don't know if y'all heard the name Jamal Johnson. Jamal Johnson. We're gonna say it again, Jamal Johnson. And the thing I love about this, when we say know his name and say his name, he is not deceased.
Still
He
here.
he is not. You know how people like say his name, remember his name, mean this in a positive way. He is not deceased. He is still very much alive. He is still very much alive, and he was the gentleman that went on a hunger strike. He was in front of City Hall. 26 days. Was it 26?
26, 27, somewhere around there.
27 days he went on a hunger strike for Mayor Kinney. He wanted some answers from the mayor about the gun violence. 26 days he set out there. We had a guest on here, Anisha Benelli. She sent a shout out to Fox 29. Fox 29 went down there to see what he was talking about. And when they was down there, another one of our guests that's coming on, Tommy Blackwell and his wife. Well, his wife was there, but Tommy Blackwell's wife, the Purple Queen,
Hmm.
she was the one to break the story, and she's not, a newscaster or somebody that you know how they always had that special person that break the story. She's a
Right,
regular Philadelphia, and she broke that story. So we're gonna have her husband and hopefully her on the show next month, because this is what we do, because we popping. We got Jamal
right,
Johnson coming on the show next month, because this is what we do, because we popping. Okay.
right.
We also have it's a gentleman I met. He goes by the name The Assist. You know how Doc and Akimba and Uncle Joe historians, we got us a younger one.
Right, right.
Listen, that type of info different. It hit different.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
It hit different. So I just can't wait for him to come on. We have some younger, like we switch it up. Like our age range is different. We want to reach everybody. So this one, if you like in your 20s, a little bit young, you might want to bring them along to see these shows that's coming. We got Dr. Holly is absolutely coming back. She is a mental
Hmm.
therapist. Dr. Marlene DeVoe, she's coming on. She's a black therapist. We have Dr. Shelley LaPrince. Listen to all these doctors and they black and they women.
Hmm. Oh
Doc-
yeah.
Okay, did y'all hear that? Did y'all catch that?
Hmm. Say it again.
We got Dr. Holly coming. She is a black therapist. We have Dr. Marlene DeVoe. She's a black therapist, mental health specialist. And we got Dr. Shelley LaPrince, who is my sister, real sister, blood sister. Okay.
Mhm.
We got
Right.
black women with degrees, with doctors in front, behind their name, wherever it go, they got it. So we
Right.
big things. Okay. And it's not just the women, we got the men coming through. I'm not gonna give y'all too much because we running up on 3 minutes. I tell you, I can go, go, go. Shout out to
All right.
She on her way to work. Good luck, sis. Be safe out there. Thank you for watching the show again, guys. So we're gonna end it with that. Next month is gonna be popping. Thursday is gonna be popping. Don't forget we got a raffle going. Um, it's a 50-50 raffle. We're trying to give up to $1,250. If we can sell all these tickets, you can win 1,250. Half will go to you. The other half will be going to a Philadelphia native. Her name is Tanisha Carter. She is a cancer survivor. She got her last bit removed last year. She was on the show. We did an impromptu show the other day. She was on here. So shout out to her. And that's just our contribution, just to somebody we always see on the with the Fox Chase Center, people we don't know that's the cancer survivors and things like that. So we know her. She's our neighbor. She's our coworker. She's our auntie. She's our sister. So that hat from Philly Unfiltered, Millennium Candy and Gifts and Princess of Power will be going to Tanisha Carter. Again, guys, thank y'all for coming. We gonna see y'all on Thursday. And as always, we end with a song. And if y'all missed it, Uncle Joe is he's a musician. Uncle Joe. You
Awesome
there,
musician.
Uncle
Yeah.
Joe? He's a musician.
As we go, can I add on to one thing that you said in the beginning?
Go ahead.
It's desperately important that we stop killing each other, that we start loving each other.
Amen.
And the media has given us a false sense of who we are, and we use that sense to kill each other. So thank
Amen.
y'all for bringing me on, and I just had to say that to connect with what you said in the beginning of the show. Thank you.
Absolutely. And we thank you, Uncle Joe, for coming. So, like we said, as always, we have an outro. And because if y'all didn't know that Uncle Joe is a musician, so in honor of Uncle Joe, we are going to play um a song. This is a song you sent me, Uncle Joe? Stop the Violence Roundtable?
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
see, look, Uncle Joe got
There you
excited
go.
when he wasn't here. So, guys, thank y'all again for coming out. Like Russell Simmons say, hope y'all was inspired. God bless y'all. Good night. Uncle Joe, this is for you. This is Joe Becton at Stop the Violence Roundtable. Good night, y'all.
And
Night, y'all.
Let me know if y'all.
I remember once again, when I was very young, my Uncle Nolan told me, he said, don't go on the show without mentioning the Lord. Don't do it. He called me one day at a show and I didn't mention the Lord. He wasn't mad, but he let me know, don't do it. So since everybody else has done it, I had to do it too. When it comes to violence, everybody says, well, you don't say nothing about violence until black people stop killing black people. Excuse me, that's not the point. The point is, people have been killing people from time immemorial. America was born on murder, slavery, rape, and drug addiction. You say they had drugs back then? Sure they did. Sugar, tobacco, made billions, made in America. Now,